Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Beyond the Sale podcast brought to you by joesg.com. My name is Matt, and I work in the customer service department. And today I'm joined by Joe from the Owning the Company department. And we are here to discuss stability and customer service and just how to build a company culture in general.
Awesome. Let's do it.
So a little bit background of me. So my name is Matt, obviously, and I started working here almost 3 years ago now, like January 22nd. I think will be 3 years for me.
Wow.
Which is pretty crazy. It's honestly, I've never had a job this long, and it's like, I don't know, time just kind of goes by, and like so much has changed since I started working here, just like in my life and in the company. It's been like super fun. And now I basically started as a tech. I started taking pictures, and Joe, it was really funny because I was looking for a job, and Joe and I met. Well, I should start like when I met you, because that's context. So I met Joe on Craigslist by selling him some video games, and I met you at like 11 p.m. on a dark street to sell you some game consoles. And Aaron was there even. Aaron was like 10 or something. 8.
He was there.
And I was 15 or 16. And Joe was around that age. And we made out and sold him some game consoles. And we chatted a little bit. And I was like, this guy's pretty cool. So I got you on Facebook. And we just kind of stayed in contact for like 5 years. And then I needed a job, and you just like randomly, like I didn't make any posts, as I remember at least. I just remember you hitting me up and being like, yo, we just got this new warehouse. Like, you should come check out this new warehouse or something. And I was like, oh, okay. So like a month later, I came by, took some pictures for you. And then you just kept hinting that you're like looking to hire someone, but not like, you're never like, yeah, we're looking to hire someone. You were like, yeah, we could use someone to do this or something. I just remember it being really vague. It was never like direct. And so, and I just was kind of like, man, after thinking about it for like a couple weeks, I was like, dude, I feel like I should just work there, I guess. And there it goes. So then I was a tech for like 3 months. And then Joe was like, hey, who can type the fastest? I'll give you like $50 to whoever can type the fastest. And I used to do customer service for T-Mobile. So, and I'm decent at typing, a lot better now.
Fast.
Yeah. And so I got like 61 words per minute or something. And that was like the fastest. So I got $50. And then I was awarded with processing all the incoming packages, which is apparently what nobody wanted to do.
Exactly.
But I thought it was all right. And then I started just slowly taking over customer service from there, and like slowly taking Joe's typing communications with the customers away and just doing it. And after within a year, we hired someone else. We hired Reeson to do customer service, and because we needed a couple people. And then from there, we found a new software called Zendesk that I use. And so basically, like, we went from needing like 2 people to do customer service to really only needing 1, because we just streamlined everything. And then now I just work remotely, and we have 1 guy doing customer service essentially, and then 1 guy processing. And so, yeah, this is a little jumbled, but basically now I do like kind of operations stuff and like managing the customer service team. But essentially, like I try to take the customer service department from being, we used to communicate on all these different platforms and like, peck at the keyboard and whatnot. And then I took that and was like, because I worked in a large call center and everything was like fairly organized there and stuff. So I had this like idea in my head of like, this is what I can like make it look like. But it was really just a slow process and like a long vision. And it's been like 2.5 years basically now. And we're getting really close. And it's been just like cool to watch that grow and just find ways to like, we're a lean company. And so like looking back and being like we're at a point now where it's like, I can't even imagine, like, I don't even remember doing customer service not with Zendesk, like in a place where we had to like have 10 tabs open and like you're responding to messages on like these different websites and whatnot from all these different people. And and you, man,
I still remember.
let's never go back.
Yeah, that was very difficult.
Yeah. Oh, it is recording. Never mind. I thought it wasn't recording. But yeah, that's how I remember it, at least, is like slowly but surely. Joe, I used to be in a desk in the break room doing customer service, and like constantly would just be like, "Hey guys, shut up!" Like, what, people would come into the break room because it's the break room, and they would be like talking or whatever, and I'm on a phone call with a customer, and like we went from that to now the customer service team has their own room, and that's
helpful.
It's just a little helpful, yeah. So, and we got signs on the door telling people not to walk through because it's so conveniently placed. There's 2 doors in this room, and it's a tiny little room, kind of like the one we're in, except a little larger.
Yeah.
And it conveniently leads to the coffee shop that's, right next door.
Yeah.
And so people like to go through that door because it leads right out to the coffee shop. So we have some nice signs on there that tell people to not walk through the door because that's loud and we don't want to have to yell at people.
For sure. So I'll kind of talk a little bit about the customer service journey as well. So of course, like any founder, when you're starting, you're basically doing everything you can, including customer service, including shipping, cleaning, testing all the products, including accounting, including payroll, including HR, including any possible other thing that there's no department for. And so when Matt took over customer service, that really created a huge opportunity for me to be able to focus on other things that would allow the company to grow. And so Matt took over customer service and did an even better job than I did because he was spending 100% of his effort doing customer service instead of me spending 15% of my effort doing customer service. And what Zendesk really brought to us is peace of mind. It created a funnel and also created metrics. So all our incoming text messages, phone calls, comments, all of it goes directly into one software, and Zendesk is that software. So our goal, or my goal for 2019, is to be able to build processes and build platforms and software, implement those softwares into our team to make them more effective. So just like our shipping software, ShipStation, where all our orders come into one area, now our Zendesk software, all our messages come into one area, and from start to finish, you can take them based off how old they are versus what platform we are on. In the past, we had a very unique approach to responding to customers. We had multiple teams responding to customers and stuff like that. And so now we generally have one person responding to our eBay messages, and then one person responding to our website, emails, text messages, phone calls. And that really helps everything go really smoothly because of the software. What I really liked about it is the fact that we were able to implement macros. So we had a lot of automated responses of people asking us the same thing over and over and over and over again. And that allowed us to be able to be more effective, respond to our customers faster, and with the information they actually need. So all they have to respond with is, okay, thanks. And those are the best responses.
For sure.
And I love the fact that we track the one-time response metric along with how quickly they respond to customers and the customer satisfaction for each response. And we never had that in the past. We had no idea how long we were responding to customers. We had no idea on how many times there was a correspondence back and forth. We had no idea how the customers felt about that specific transaction or that specific email or text. Or I think it only works for emails, right?
Yeah, I mean the one touch tickets is we usually keep that at like around 85% is our goal, and that applies to all the tickets. But like metrics like satisfaction scores that we get, we can send out satisfaction surveys to customers. Those sort of things are just for email because we probably could set them up for text, but I hate getting texted satisfaction scores personally, so I don't know if we'll do that. But
there you go. So with the one-touch tickets, why do you think that's so important? What did you do in terms of building the macros? Explain what a macro is first off, and then the one-touch tickets, talk about them, why that's so important.
Yeah, so basically the goal, the thing that I know from just working in customer service is like we struggle with this a ton, and when I used to work in a call center, it's like unreal, the turnover. Like people come and go like no believe in, like it's like insane, and we struggled and have struggled with finding people that want to do customer service full time. And so the real goal for me in that was like how can we make the job as easy as possible, and then also make all of the information that customers need to answer their own questions as easy to access on the customer's end as possible. And so that's kind of the goal, is getting to a place where basically the customer can answer their own questions like 99% of the time. But then there's like those, one-off situations where the customer can't. And so with that in mind, basically if our turnover rate hasn't actually been super bad, but like when we've needed to hire someone, it's just not been super great,
It is so much easier to find somebody that wants to fix things than it is that somebody wants to deal with customers.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this too, and really what it comes down to, it's hard to find the person that has the heart of service. And most of the guys that fix stuff, they have a heart of service too, but it's difficult for them to translate that into words and actions. Yeah. And so they have their service, their words of service, or their actions of service is to fix something for someone, email them. But the people that we have for customer service, they have a different heart. Yeah. And they care, and they really want to make sure the customer is like pumped about that. Mm-hmm. And so finding somebody that doesn't necessarily have the skill, but just has a really good, kind heart, that's the thing we were struggling with.
Yeah.
Because anybody can fix stuff. Generally, people can fix stuff if they want. It's exciting to fix stuff, but customer service, like you said, that was a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
That was a lot more difficult.
And like the kind of trade-off there is that like you can find like a beast mode person to do your customer service who's gonna like give all the information and like or whatever, and they're more direct, but maybe they don't empathize as well. And so then you have to teach, like, help the person understand, like, empathize with people. Or you're going to find somebody that only knows how to empathize, but they don't really know how to give out the information or to, speak directly to a customer. And so, like, because of those inconsistencies, and wanting to find someone with that's compassionate about it, it's usually easier to give someone information than it is to teach them how to be kind to people, And so, like, the reason we have what Joe was talking about, our macros, are essentially just pre-formatted messages that we've typed up already to answer certain questions, because we get a lot of the same questions. And so in our customer service software, we just have on every message, there's just a list of all the macros we have, which is now hundreds of macros. And you can just search in the macros list and then it'll just insert a message in reply to the customer, and like maybe it'll have some blanks that you fill in, or it'll autofill their name, or it'll autofill other information for them depending on like what the scenario is. But then it allows us to make sure that like the information that we're giving the customer is at least good, and then the person can kind of customize that macro if they want it to be more kind based on their situation, or like empathize more, whatever it is. But at least like we're getting the customer more of the information that is going to help them have a better experience. Because if we can communicate like as much as possible up front, it's going to make sure that the customer's not let down, or they don't expect something different. But if like our information's cohesive and it's the same everywhere, then that's the goal, just having that level of organization. And that's what the macros really brought to us. Because before, like our macros, quote unquote, were like Google Docs that had lists of templates in them, and you'd like go into Google and you'd be like, all right, I need my customer service templates, and then you'd like have your message in there somewhere that you would copy paste out, and then go to your platform of choice where this one customer messaged you and send that message, and then you'd go to another tab, and then you'd have the same question, but you can't just select from a list. You have to go back to your Google Doc, and you have to find it and copy paste it again. And yeah, so we've come a long ways. It saves us like an immense amount of time, and it's not even necessarily about the time. It's mostly just about the fact like it's great that we save time, but more importantly, the customer can just have a better experience, and like with less effort, like
it's a much higher quality experience.
Exactly.
Right. The 4 pillars. The quality is the most important part.
Right behind safety.
That's right. Safety first, quality second, simplicity, then speed.
Yeah.
And so the entire part of that is completely how that department has changed. Mm-hmm. And one note on, making it simpler. You've made it so simple now where we used to have 8 tabs. Now we have 1 tab.
Yeah.
Our phone calls, our text messages, our emails, our anything basically all plugs into one software. Mm-hmm. That took us 2.5 years to figure out. So if there's companies out there that now are dealing with so many different platforms, this is definitely a great solution for you. Something like this is the way to go, because you're going to be saving a lot of time, but more importantly, you'll have a quality experience that's consistent throughout all the channels that you deal with.
Yeah.
And that's really important, because a customer wants to have when they come to you the first time, when they have a good experience, you want to have the same experience or a better experience next time.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you don't have these messages that are structured a certain way, they're not going to have the same experience.
Yeah.
And I think once you did do all the macros and you had the software and stuff, more people were interested in being customer service representatives, weren't they?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, and I was actually going to segue into something else too, but it was really funny because when we just hired someone like 5-6 months ago now, and he's doing a great job. And when
we love you, Mike.
Yeah, we love you, Michael. What a guy. I call him Mike Kale. I don't know why. I don't remember where that came from, but I should buy him some kale sometime. But when we were hiring him, I just remember that no one. It was really funny because Joe and I were like, man, there has to be someone like in the company already that would be like down to take some phone calls or something, And like we would walk around and we'd bring it up at a morning meeting or whatever and be like, does anyone want to do customer service? And people would be like, no, and the room would get really quiet and everyone would look away, start looking down, hands in their pockets, whatever, And it was like, dang, well, okay, And then we get Michael on board, and then one of our techs gets like slightly interested in customer service, and then he kind of gets more interested. He takes a couple phone calls, he kind of digs it, and then suddenly there's this like stream of people in the customer service room like trying to take phone calls and stuff. And it was just the funniest like week or two, because we went from people like not wanting to do customer service and thinking of it as this like big crazy thing, like super hard to do or whatever, and then like once one person that had said no said yes, and was just like, yeah, I'll give that a shot. Everyone else was like, oh, well, maybe this isn't half bad. And they all thought it was kind of like a funny game or something. It was really funny. And I think it was cool because it kind of, like, in making customer service more simple and making information more available to not just the customers, but also to the employees, and having like a central spot where that information is stored, you just make everything a lot easier for people. And like customer service is pretty daunting, and everyone has this idea that customer service is like someone's vacuuming outside and it's like, what the heck? But customer service is like, people yelling at you on the phone. That's like what people think. Apparently, like, I've done customer service, so that's not really what comes to mind for me, because that's like such a small percentage of what actually, like, that basically doesn't happen. Like, if you're doing a good job and someone calls in and they're angry and then you empathize with them, they're usually going to settle down. So like if someone's calling you and they are being very rude, usually it's just because they think that by being rude, they're going to get something free out of you or something,
So odd.
And it's like, it's really stupid. So it's not even usually anything that you can avoid.
Right.
Like if that person's calling in to like do that, and that person like calls in like one a year,
right.
It's like never.
It's so frequent. But it does give you those scar tissues.
Yeah.
Right? Like you get that experience like, damn, that was bad.
Yeah. But like it doesn't happen that often, And so but that is the stigma around customer service. And so if we can just make it, easier for people to just jump right in and be able to take that customer service position and make it feel fun and not daunting, and make it like, wow, this is so like efficient, and everything just like kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
That's like really good, and so coming in, if you're trying to build like a customer service team in your company, or I'm sure if you probably know what the high turnover is all about. You're
absolutely,
all of this you can relate, but essentially just trying to get to a point where, what we're working on now is like the part that I'm really, really excited about is I'm building out a help center essentially, and it's not just a customer facing help center, but it like anybody can just go there and search through that. Like we'll have our repair guides on there, troubleshooting steps, general FAQs, like every piece of information possible. And as I'm writing these articles that are public, I've only started writing them because I just finished writing a bunch of back-end training courses for our customer service team. And so that's been like, those two parts are something huge that I've been working on. And the training courses was massive because we by having, now we basically have a training course for every single task in our customer service department. There might be like a couple that aren't there, but any major task has a training course or a video explaining exactly how to do that task the best way possible. So now we don't just have macros for the customer, giving them the good information. We have essentially large macros in, training course form for our employees, so that when we hire somebody, or somebody's just interested in taking on a task, or like someone wants to go on a vacation and we need someone to take on the task, somebody else can just pop onto the training course a week before that person leaves, go through the training course a few times doing the task, and then they know the task, and then they can just take it. So like, it makes just transferring information so much easier. But then like, now we're doing that publicly. And the reason I think that's really important is that, like things like our resets right now, like I'm about to wrap up like every single reset that we have on our YouTube channel, every reset. I literally went through our repair form and picked out every single product that can be reset, put them in a list, and then I'm just about to put the last resets in that list. So there'll be a all-inclusive list that is searchable and has a glossary by brand of like every product we fix and how to reset it, or, hard reset it, or whatever it is. And like that sort of information, even though like our techs might know how to, do that, if we hire someone new, or, if it's a customer service person, the goal is not just that, the customers can go online and figure out how to reset their stuff. It's that now we will have a central place where all of our repair knowledge and videos are linked, and they're searchable. And it's like a community where people can comment on the articles and offer suggestions, like if something isn't, how they would want it. And so when I worked in a call center, like we had a place, I think it was called Grand Central is what they called it, and there was a search bar, and there was like company announcements, important updates, whatever for employees, and we, like, if you're on a phone call, you literally just, and you don't know the answer to something, you just type the question in, and you basically just see all the articles related to that. And so that's what we're working towards, is just getting information for the customer and for the technician in a place where everyone can use the same website, and they can just search on there, like if they need a repair guide for how to fix something, or if they, want to know how to reset something, or whatever it is, or if they want to see if we have any deals going on or whatever, like all of the information is just in one spot. And that's super key to just getting, making it easier, making it more simple, and also just like still giving that high quality information. Because there was a study that we were sent recently, or like a few months ago, and where customers, it was like 70 or 80% of customers would much rather fix their own issue than talk to somebody to fix the issue. And so when you realize that like you have the answers to all the customers' questions in your head, so if you just take an hour a day to write some of those things down in like a good way, so that, and then put it somewhere where the customer can find it, the customer is going to like be excited, and they're going to be able to just answer their own stuff. And then even Zendesk has a software called AnswerBot that I'm super pumped to turn on, because it's going to make like, basically it's an AI that sorts through the articles that you've written and tries to send them to, like, it'll send suggestions to customers that contact you, and then tell you like, hey, you should check this out. And then like the customer can solve their own ticket. So essentially you'd never have to talk to that customer. They could just like look at one of the articles that it suggests and then solve their own ticket out of your system. So then you'd never have to even see it. And that just is like the next level, because then that just makes it more efficient for you. The customer didn't have, if it's over a weekend and the customer wants to answer the question, they can just go answer it right away. It's just like super efficient, high quality. Everybody really like, speed is the last pillar, it's the last part of that lean improvement strategy, but like the customer likes speed a lot.
They do.
And so we want to focus on quality and simplicity and stuff, but the faster we can get that to the customer, the better, and so that's not the main goal, but like any way that we can speed that up is huge. And like the other thing that's really cool is that, like when I took over customer service for you were able to focus on like more high quality things in other parts of the business.
Exactly.
And not, you weren't having to do everything at once. And so I think I'd love to hear you talk about just how it was for you kind of letting go of those responsibilities. Because I know as a business owner, you really want everything. It's nice to have control over things. And I know that I'm a little bit of a control freak too, where I'm like, I want to make sure it's done right. How was it for you, handing over the responsibilities to me and to other people?
That's a good question, Matt. So it was hard, of course, because when you grow something like let's say this is a baby and it starts walking and it starts talking, and then someone else becomes its babysitter of a certain part of it, then it makes it really difficult to be like, I know for a fact it's going to get done right. Mm-hmm. But what I can say is that throughout all the years that you were customer service, I never got any negative feedback about you. And that goes to show like what you have inside your heart as a starter. And that gave me so much peace of mind. Every single month that would go by, I would see all these amazing feedback coming from our customers. And at the end of the day, that's all that really mattered to me. Is I wanted control because I thought that what I was outputting was creating a good experience for the customer. But what came out of you doing the customer service was an even higher quality experience for the customer. And you had a greater empathy. You had greater responses. You had greater grammar and spelling, and there wasn't a 3-second response like I was doing in the past. So that gave me a lot of peace of mind. And for me, that's what it comes down to. When we have leadership in the right areas, I can sleep really well. But when we don't have leadership in the right areas, it keeps me up at night. Not necessarily true. I sleep really well, but that's kind of the point though. If our leadership in the areas that I think are very important, customer service, our technical teams, our fulfillment department, our purchasing department, our R&D department, marketing, if those departments don't have great leadership, then I'm worried about it. And I have to always, that's in the back of my head when I should be thinking about how can I grow this business? How can I continue to create a great experience for the people that work here? All the different things that I'm thinking about, this just clouds it. And so when you did take over, it was very difficult because I would wake up at 3 a.m., respond to customers on text in my bed, looking up, go pass out again, wake up at 6, respond to customers. I'd pick up phone calls at 3 a.m. because they were from the East Coast, 6 o'clock, right? I'd pick up phone calls in the middle of the night, 12 o'clock, because a lot of our customers were from the East Coast. My phone, at the time, my phone number was the customer service phone number. That's how you know that things change. When we used to have my number, my personal number, as the customer service number, then we changed it to a Google Voice number, and then we changed it to a 1-800 number, and now we changed it back to a local number that feeds in through our Zendesk software. But that was just the intensity. I would get personal text messages through my phone where I'd have to respond through my personal thing where all the customers were texting into there. And then Matt's like, we should probably get a different number. I'm like, yeah, let's do that. So a lot of things changed, but definitely for the better. I can definitely say that if I continued on the path, if I couldn't delegate to you, if I couldn't let go, we definitely wouldn't have grown, because I would have been the funnel. I would have been the thing that's blocking the growth of the company because I couldn't delegate that task to you. And you took that task and you did it even better. I didn't realize that. Just as I was delegating different tasks to different people, because I used to ship everything. I used to clean everything. I used to be the janitor here. And I used to take all the phone calls, text messages, all that kind of stuff, take the stuff to and from the post office. I used to do the purchasing. I used to do the inventory of the purchasing, all that kind of stuff. I was originally the one that started it. But when I started it, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing. But when we passed that task on, now we have Protaz and Victoria doing fulfillment. They do an amazing job.
Yeah. They
do a way better job than I do. And they're really good at it. And it's because when you delegate, that person can put 100% of their effort into that task versus you, which you have 10 different tasks, only putting 10% of your effort into it. And because you know everything, you may do a good job, but you're actually not going to allow yourself and the business to grow. So delegating is difficult, of course. But when you have the right people in the places, you get a lot of those proud daddy moments, when you see someone doing something, you're like, wow, that's awesome. This person grew so much. Even Matt, personally, how you've grown, insane. From when you came in 3 years ago to where you're at now, the sense of peace and, just the way you talk, the way you understand, the way you lead is much different than how you did a year ago or even 2 years ago. It's a completely different person. So even watching that journey in itself is so amazing because the maturity of the person matures the process and the products of the company. So if the person isn't maturing personally, then the business is not going to be able to mature as well, because a business is a collection of people focusing on a single goal. And really, that's what I didn't know, is that if this person just puts all their effort into it and they're growing and maturing, so will the company, so will the department, and so will the trust with our customers. It will grow because they have a consistent experience that they can count on. And we have people that they can count on that will respond to them, that do care about them, that have a great heart, that treat them like a human. Because every business makes mistakes. We make tons of mistakes, but we try to do our very best to get to a solution that makes sense for the customer more than it makes sense for us. And always give me that 51%, 49%. And that's kind of how it works, when you do that. But delegating, it's tough.
Yeah.
And this year has been, I've been delegating even more tasks. So delegating customer service to ProTaz for eBay messages.
Yeah.
Daniel doing purchasing and doing sales. David doing more of the operations. All these different things have changed this year. Aaron listing stuff. So like 4 brand new people plugged into the tasks that I used to manage more of. And they do a great job. And things are running. But I think as a leader, when you do delegate those tasks, don't expect an amazing result right away. Just expect one thing. There's going to be a lot of mistakes. Because 1, I suck as a leader and I'm trying to get better. And 2, I'm not very good at explaining and I'm getting better at that. So as they ask me questions and as they learn, I try to not only tell them what to do, but what I was thinking about in order to accomplish that task. And that allows for the growing part of it. So it doesn't take them as long to learn. The learning curve is much shorter when you're able to not just tell them what to do, but how you got to that conclusion. And so a lot of the stuff we do, like with purchasing and selling, that's more of an intuition thing. Like there's no book on, hey, this is how you negotiate a customer return lot from this vendor, this kind of inventory. This is the parts that you need. This is the margin that you need. It's very difficult to know that. So the next thing for me is as we get a bigger purchasing team, as we get a bigger selling team, we're going to have to build another thing like you've been doing with Zendesk, where there are training courses for it, where there is a consistent, more or less a Bible for it, where you know exactly how to act when a certain situation comes up. And the same thing that we're doing now with these new departments, we used to not even have for customer service. So it goes to show that what you implemented into the company is now going to be able to be copy pasted into different departments to make sure we have one cohesive company. And when we need to hire people, it's going to be done much faster. And we can give the responsibilities to the people ahead of time so they know what to expect. Because when you came with the company, Matt, like you said, it was vague. You want to know why? Because we had no idea what you would do. And guess what? We still don't know what we're doing. So it's vague because we had no idea. I didn't know what you would do. I didn't know if you wanted to work here or not, so. Yeah. And now it's a little easier, but.
Wasn't it like just 6 or 7 months ago, like we didn't have like a compensation plan or like we didn't have like, when we hired people for customer service, we didn't really have a plan. Like Joe would just kind of like find someone, message back and forth, go have some coffee, like have them read the 2-second lean book, and then like, there you go. But like, we didn't really have a, like, here's the information that's like, this is what we expect from you. These are the skills we'd like you to have. And like, these are the things you might be doing. And like, this is how much we're going to pay you. We literally didn't have that. And so hiring was just kind of like all over, and so we basically now we just have that written down, and like that just makes hiring. So, like a process, like, hey, so this is what, like we need, this is things we'd like. This is what you're going to do. This is, the training we expect you to go through, and like where we'd like you to be and stuff. Like, does that fit for you? Because I think that like that's super important, because if the person knows up front what they're going to be doing, there's not going to be any surprises. Right. If the person thinks that they're just coming on to do emails, but it turns out we're going to want them to do phone calls. Like if we don't tell them that up front, there's going to be too much of a potential for a surprise. And we had that happen with a person in the customer service department, where it was just like we started giving responsibilities that were kind of like too much, or like something you didn't really want to do, and like that wasn't really communicated well. And so now that we have that just communicated up front, like there's just no, it's kind of like the macros we have for our customers, but for people that we're looking to hire, we tell them up front all the information, and we make sure that that's simple. And that, I'm sure that helps give you some peace of mind too, because it's hiring is just like it's hard to be good at hiring. I've personally never really like hired anyone, but like Joe and I have talked about people that we're gonna hire, but like it's hard to know, what someone's going to be good at before you see them in action. And so I like what you said about, the reason you found peace of mind with me doing customer service was because the positive reviews were coming in, and so it's instead of just speculating and worrying about like who you're going to hire, just make sure that the training is there and that you do the best you can to give them the information. And then you just keep track of them for a few months and you see if they do a good job. If they do a good job, then you have peace of mind. If they don't do a good job, then you need to fix something, but like, you shouldn't need to like worry. If you're worrying about your hiring, then you probably need a more efficient process for hiring, like there's also like understanding if someone will fit your culture, like I think it's really important. Like that's something that I really value is like working around people that I enjoy being around and like working in an environment where I enjoy being. Like I think that's just really important. And I just like talking to people and like getting to know people and like trying to like build an energy in a company. That's like really fascinating to me. And so, when you have all this information out there for people, it allows you to kind of like ingrain, like we have this serious but silly undertone to like kind of all of the customer facing communication that we have. And then like I even try to put that in the training courses, drop like a random joke or a pun here and there. And you just kind of like, not all the time, but, and we have some things that are like serious but that's like legal stuff or whatever, you don't really want to put a pun in your legal document. Maybe avoid that. But, like having a little bit of a like understanding that, we're here for some jokes and we're humans. And I think portraying that to, it's super easy when you hire people for them to think like, oh, it's just the corporate machine or this is just a job or whatever. But if you can like bring them in and actually, realize like, this is how this person likes to be treated. This is, what gets them going. Will that fit with our company culture? And like, how can we provide a place for all these different people who are totally different to come and enjoy it? Because the last thing you want is somebody that shows up to work just to work and then they go home and they complain about their job. That's just not what you want. And so
that's awful.
Yeah. And like, if someone brings negativity to the workplace, it's more than just them not being as productive as they could. If they start talking negatively about their job at their job, then that poisons your other employees, and if you have, in a book I read once, I just remembered this just stuck out to me, was that A players don't like to work with B players or D players or whatever. Like if you're looking to have a certain type of person work for you, somebody that wants to be around a long time and somebody that values consistency and somebody that, wants to be valued for their time, they want to get paid a decent wage or whatever. You don't want to also hire people that are just here for a month and they're like super or if you want super sporadic people, then don't hire, like it's just about having like a balance. And you're not always going to have people that just stick around forever. That's obviously like the dream as a someone that's hiring people.
Yeah.
It's like I wish no one would leave.
Wish, yeah. If they're good, stick around forever.
Exactly. But just trying to build an environment where like there's like if someone has a problem, I think that's really what I enjoy about Lean, is about just like the way that we operate, is that if I have an issue, I can just go fix it, like I was actually just listening to our Voxer conversation again to get some more ideas to chat about today. And I heard the part where I was talking about the Shopify notifications that I updated. And it was just so strange. Like, so we just have like email, typical like order emails that you send out to customers like automatically when they pay or whatever. And I went through and I just updated them all to make them feel more personal, because I was clearing out my inbox and I was like all of the order notifications from all the companies look the same. And I was like, gosh dang, like all these order numbers, like it's so easy to tell that it's just like automated crap and like no one cares about it, And so I was like, this is just stupid. Like, why would you put the order number in the subject line and then the subject line is a mile long and it gets cut off anyways, like when it's already in the email? And so like I just went through and like started updating our Shopify notifications and was just like, hey, like these are gonna be better now. And then like halfway through updating them, I was like, wow, like if I worked anywhere else, like I couldn't just jump into the notifications and just change them, but it was like just an improvement. It's like that's what we do,
It's amazing.
And it's just cool that for me, it sucks to work in a place where you have things that you don't like about it. And the cool thing here is that if there's something that gets on your nerves every day, and you can just fix it, then you do. And then everybody's like, whoa, go get you, get on you. And so that's like really cool. But I think that, having the information for new people to come on board and then kind of welcoming them into like a good culture where it's, they show up and it's not like, all right, here's a fat stack of papers, like get to work. It's like, hey, we want to support you. We want to like help you grow and just be like a place that you want to be around.
Exactly.
That's super important.
I think what really says a lot about the company is the fact that most of our people that we hire are from references from within the company. That goes to show that people generally enjoy working with all of us, and they enjoy the culture of the company because they enjoy their job enough where they're like, yeah, you should join too. If somebody doesn't like where they work, they're not going to recommend it to their friends. It's word of mouth marketing, but for hiring. It's like the most positive outcome comes from when people are within the company and they recommend somebody. We don't even hire any outside people. Like if you're within the company and you know somebody that has a heart for learning, has a heart for serving, and has a heart for teamwork, those are the kind of people we want. And when people inside the company do that for me, it's amazing because first off, I don't have to go find anybody else. But secondly, they already know, they already have an expectation. Working generally sucks. We want to make it more fun and it's still serious. So when we hire people, when I hire people, I tell them, hey, this is still a job, but it's an opportunity for you to grow. And if you're going to stay here now, or if you're going to stay here for 6 months or 6 years, I want you to learn something from it and either open your own business or go work in another company, but at least learn something here. Learn something, understand something, be part of something bigger than just yourself. And so if we have generally a goal of serving and loving our customers and the people inside the company already do that, then they can tell the people, the future hirees, what to expect. And I think that makes it easier too. The onboarding is easier when somebody can ask somebody about it. One of the interesting things I always hear from some people are things like, hey, my buddy asked me, one of our guys will say this to me. They'll come by and they're like, hey, this guy asked me, like, yo, how do I like working here? And everyone just expect someone to say like, hey, Joe's an asshole or something. Yeah. But generally, I'd say I'm a pretty good dude. Generally, and I love all the people that work here because if I didn't, they wouldn't be working here.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of funny because they say that, and then they come to me. They're like, it's like people are like expecting me to like say something. Except for what I want to say, like what wanted to be for me to say, like, oh yeah, he's a terrible dude, and I get that sometimes. I kind of laugh and I'm like, yeah, that's cool though. That people, they're like say, they say what they say about it, and it seems to be working. People generally enjoy working here, and I always get a big smile when somebody tells me that, like, yeah, this person asked about the company, and then the next thing they usually ask, like, oh, are you interested? Like they're like already trying to recruit new people for the company.
Yeah.
But on that note, Matt, that you were saying you were able to fix that. That's incredible, right? That's something that it was an unintended consequence or unintended awesome part of the lean journey where we try to fix the things that bug us. Sensei Paul Akers, based off his book 2 Second Lean, which has completely changed the way we operate our company, he talks about that. And the fact that we have an ability to give power to anyone here to make a decision like that, that's awesome. Matt didn't have to come talk to me. And I trust Matt to do the thing. He's going to do a better job than what I could do because he understands how the customer thinks. He understands the company. And generally, he understands my expectation of him of quality and making the product better. And that's just awesome because you told me after, and I'm like, I didn't even think about that until you brought it up. I'm like, oh yeah, that's kind of cool, It's amazing. I just hope that we continue to have that, where people feel like they can make changes that make their lives better.
Yeah, and I think that definitely stems from like you are constantly improving, and so it's like I think that's one of the things that I've really focused on just personally this year is realizing that I want to be around a certain type of person. And so like I can't wait for that type of person to show up. Like I shouldn't just expect that like if I like, you know, doing a certain thing, that if I don't do that at some point I'm going to meet someone that does, you know, like if you want a certain result out of people or you want a certain culture, you have to be that culture. And so like, you know, if
That's
if,
deep, dude. I love that.
but it's like so true because you know, especially if you're leading, no matter if you're leading or even if you're just, you work in a company and you want to see more of the culture, if there's something that you're complaining about, you should just check yourself when you're complaining about it, or if you're, you know, something that you want, and then go, okay, so if I want that from other people, why don't I just do that to everyone? And eventually, because I do that to people, people will start to be like, oh, this is cool. And then they'll like do it back, you know?
That's right.
And so the fact that, you know, you like, I know just the first, you know, going back way back, like 3 years ago, when people didn't want to stand up at their desks, but you were like, we're going to stand up at our desks. And you stood up. Like you, it's literally funny because like whenever I see Joe sit down, it's like a big deal. It's like you never see Joe sit. He's just, you know, if he's at work, he's just standing. And so like I'll occasionally see him sitting in the break room and then I'm like, whoa, is the world ending? Like what's about to happen? Like, is it about to rain? Is that like, you know, is that like what the cows do when they know it's going to rain? And so they sit down. I don't know. But it's just like, it's, you know, you have to be the culture that you want. And so I think, you know, realizing that when you hire people, like everyone's different and nobody's going to be exactly like you. And that's totally fine. You know, don't try not to get like impatient with people that you work with. Instead, just be the person that you want, you know, your culture to be, and like be the, you know, if you want to improve all the time, or if you want to have like a silly undertone, let that happen and kind of like be, you know, let that flourish and be that. And I think that that's just really important, you know, is like, don't expect your employees to like care about the business as much as you if you're the owner, you know, like don't just get impatient, like kind of just understand that you should just lead by example.
On that point, Matt, you said don't expect your employees. You don't expect them. But the one thing I respect about you is you care so much about the customer. When you're doing customer service, the stuff you do now, you care so much that it's like insane. And there's, as someone that hires people, to see that somebody cares so much that they're going to go out of their way, they're going to stay a little extra, they're going to do a little more. Like that is like the best thing you could see. And it's just incredible to see that, because I know you care, especially when you're doing customer service, the things that you would tell me, I'm like, yeah, like that's amazing. So don't expect your team to care as much as you, but care enough about them where they're going to care enough about the customer. Mm-hmm. And, you know, nothing's ever perfect. But if you just try to treat them with respect and generally just do a good job, people seem to follow.
Yeah.
But, you know, on that point, when you said you care a lot, and I appreciate that.
Okay.
And that's the kind of people we want to find, is that they care more. You can't have anyone care as much as me, because obviously all the moving parts I can see, and I can see generally where we want to go. But if you're one part of it, it's harder to see that. It's harder to see, why am I doing this today? Mm-hmm. And that's something I'm working on every day, is to make sure there's a clear general direction of why are we doing this, how are we doing this, and with who as well. So,
yeah. Yeah, and I think too I appreciate that, first of all. Thank you. Like I definitely tend to be at a place where like, sometimes I think at one point I told you, I was like, I feel like I care too much. I think like that was at our end of year meeting last year or something. You're like, what's one thing you want to change in 2019? And I think I said something like, I think I want to care less, but not in like a bad way, but like I get too controlling of things. Like I want to be like, okay. Like I think it's like I was just reading a book. One of my favorite authors, Ryan Holiday, released a book called Stillness is Key. And I suggested that to you like a couple weeks ago or whatever. Super good book. And one of the things that that wasn't actually even the book. I think he talks about it in that one, but Ego is the Enemy is one of his other books. And I think you showed me that book. And that's my favorite book to date. Like I love that book. And I was just listening to it again. And one of my favorite things in it that stood out to me was, you know, ego will tell you to like be confident before you've had results. Wow. You know, ego is like you thinking that you're the best at something, even though you've never become the best. You've never done it, you know? And so like when the reason I wanted to care less was because I wanted to be more, like, I didn't really know this at the time, but like what that translates to is like, not being a control freak about things and like letting things, go a little bit means that, like for instance, when we hired someone new, like for me, it's very hard for me to let somebody take over customer service because I know that they're going to have a really hard time doing the same level of, customer service that I could do. And so it's like, instead of worrying about that, I should just put the right stuff into place to be confident in my actions and in the process that we've built for that person to do a good job, And so like, I think that there's a line of, if you're worrying about something, it's probably because in the back of your head, that you didn't prepare for it enough, right. And like you didn't do a good enough job. And so if you just always do the best job that you can, but if you mess up, you always like admit that and then you just fix it and you go forward, then you won't have anything to worry about. If you just try to pay attention and do the best that you can. I think that's super important. So
it's true, man. I love that book so much. It's a great book.
I think I've read it like 7 times now.
Dang, that's impressive.
But one other thing I wanted to bring up was on the note of like building a culture and, I think that it's really important to recognize like the thing I always like to do with people is to like find what their love languages are. And
great book. Yeah,
great book also. But like everybody feels rewarded in like a different way. And so I try to, it's like weird. I don't know when this started, but like I try to exude just all of those love languages and like, I just do it. And I don't really know where that came from, but I think that trying to do that, reward the good in the company is like huge. And so you can't some people really would much rather have you walk up to them, one-on-one or like take them out for a coffee and be like, yo, I really appreciate you. Other people would much rather that they got like an award in front of the whole company. Other people would much rather just get paid $1 an hour more or get a bonus for doing well. And so I think that it's important to recognize that like, a pat on the back and saying like, thanks for doing a good job doesn't do it for everyone. And so like trying to pay attention to that, if you do have, because some people like, I know that I really appreciate being given value like in return. And that's something that I've like learned about a lot this year and over the last couple of years is like recognizing that when someone does something for you, they're providing value and like, how can you provide the value back to them, right. and always feeling like I'm in a place where I'm providing more value. Like I feel better when I provide more value than what I feel like I'm being given in return. And so trying to like do that for your employees, almost like, I think that bonuses or, meetings, like we have one of the things that you started this year that was really cool is we do the brownie points. Like, so if a employee does a really good job and then a customer like leaves a review without the employee like telling them to or something, but they just leave a review and they're like, Eddie did a really great job at this, thanks so much. They get like a reward for that. And like, that's super cool because it's just like a little thing, but it's like something to say like, yo, you're doing a great job. And so just trying to like pay attention to your employees. And I feel like that's kind of along the lines of like HR almost, or like there was another name that I don't even really like human resources. Yeah. What did you call it? There was a book we read that talked about it and it was something else, but like whatever it was along the lines of HR, like I think that that's important to try and, pay attention. And especially as the company, like your company gets larger, like that's something that can be delegated out to be like, okay, like, how do you, are you having meetings with people? Like, are people satisfied? How else can this person be made happy? And it's not always the same for everyone, and recognizing that is important. So.
It is. That's something that's very difficult. I feel like one of the things that I don't do as well is, try to be more appreciative of the things that are going on, because I'm still so much doing stuff as well. I just feel like I'm like just going, and then being able to step back and be like, hey, thank you. Mm-hmm. And the only time I have an opportunity to do that is the one-on-one meetings that I get to have with everyone. And then using the software I've been using, the Leader, I'm able to do a layout of the meeting along with the notes and the actions and the goals we set up for each thing, and then along with setting up another meeting and then keeping track of all that. Nice. That's been really nice for me.
That's right.
Because I get to know exactly what we're talking about, and then what goals we set, and then did we achieve those goals, and then the next thing what we're talking about, what goals we're setting, and do we achieve them. And generally I want to see how someone's doing. I want to make sure that they don't hate their job yet. I want to make sure that they feel like their leadership, the team that's leading them, they're doing a good job for them. I ask them what kind of tools I can give them. What can I do differently as a leader to make sure that they're more effective? Because at the end of the day, you know, I work for all you guys. You know, I work for you guys because I'm doing my best to make sure that you guys are happy. If you guys are happy, then I know our customers are going to be happy. If our customers are going to be happy, they're going to come back and buy more stuff, and that keeps us in business. And so that's generally my output, or what I'm shooting for, is to be able to tell you guys, like, hey, what can I do to make sure that I can do a better job for you? And I'm still working on it. And I think my spidey senses are getting better too, where I can see somebody walk by weird at me. I'm like, all right, we got to sit down. What's going on? And then I'll talk to them, and, you know, either someone died in their family, or they're not happy about something, or they don't feel like they're valued, or there's nothing at all going on. They just wanted to have a free coffee.
Yeah, a free burrito here and there, you know?
So it's something that I don't know how to explain, and I can tell you I suck at it, but I can tell you I'm also getting better at it. And I'm getting better at, you know, understanding and trying to be like, all right, hey, this is the reality of the situation. You may think you're worth this or that, but I can tell you that the people that are getting paid that and that are doing this. You have to try to do this and this to achieve this outcome, to make sure that you get what you think you want to get. So it's tough. I don't really know how to do it yet, but I'm learning. And this year has been such a unique year for that. And it's been a lot easier now with the meetings, keeping track of it through Leader. It's been nice.
Yeah, that's really cool, because I had totally spaced on that, because since I'm not working in the shop anymore, I don't think we've ever had a meeting with Leader before.
Not yet.
But I remember you bringing it up, and I thought that was like the coolest thing.
Amazing.
Because what you were saying about seeing me grow, I've seen that in you so much. Like, I was just looking back through our footage of like vlogs that we filmed, or videos we filmed, like right after I started working here and stuff, and I was like, dang dude, Joe just wears tank tops all the time. And like, I remember that, like, such a different person, you know. And like, it's really cool that you take that on. You know, there's a lot to learn as a business owner, and just like, especially when you start in your bedroom, you know, and it's like you and a couple buds, like it's so much different than working with, you know, having 30 employees or whatever, and like everybody has their thing going on in their head. And so I like we've done with everything else, having like a way to track it, a way to have metrics on it or whatever, like that's super important, you know. And I think that's like, if you want to value that, getting something like Leader to, you know, have all of that tracked and in one place is gonna be huge.
Absolutely. Big shout out to David and William too, and Aaron, the ones that were working in my garage with me. So big part of the beginning of the company for sure. And, you know, like I said, tracking is really important. Just like with for technical team, we have a KPI. We try to track the value that they're generating per hour. And that's important to us, because we want to see, you know, how well are you doing, or how bad are you doing. We track return rate, right? Yeah. We track a lot of different metrics because we want to build trust with our customers. But without a good team, without a team that's doing a good job, we're not going to have that trust. We're not going to have any customers if our guys, first, are not happy with their pay and their work, and secondly, if they're doing bad work. If they're doing bad work, the product's going to come back. It's going to get returned. Customers are going to be pissed. We're wasting money on shipping. We're wasting money on resources. Potential employee genius is being used doing something that's not value added. Yeah. The customer just wants their product. They want it fast. They want it cheap, and they want to get it there before yesterday. You know, they already wanted to have a while ago. So I think that's really important, is if you have a growing team, and, you know, people sometimes see their value as higher, or sometimes they think it's less. And so you got to make sure to find a way to track that, to be able to justify the actions that you're taking. That's still something we're growing with, you know?
Yeah. And on that topic, like, it's cool that, or a lot of people will say this in books and stuff, but like the numbers don't lie, you know? And so instead of just like trying to keep track of everything in your head, just get it down in a system. And then you don't ever have to think about it. You have more room for the things that are like, you know, changing every day and like going on. But like having numbers is really, really important, because when you can look at somebody, you know, that's asked, like saying, hey, I don't feel like I'm getting paid enough. And then you're like, well, like, you know, like maybe if you do this and this, like let's get you there, but this is what we need or whatever. Like having, and not even necessarily in like a pay situation, but just like knowing as a business, like who the people that are doing really well are, and like who the people that aren't doing the best. And then you can talk to the people that are like maybe straggling behind a little bit, and you can say like, hey, how can we make, how can we work with this for you? Like, this is kind of what we're looking to aim at. Like when you have like a goal to meet, it's like, there was an old analogy that I haven't even brought this up in forever, but like someone without a goal is like a ship that leaves harbor with no destination, just like, and no crew. You
Right.
basically just float around, and eventually you probably just end up crashed on a reef,
Exactly.
And so if you have numbers that you can work with, and you can say, like, hey, this is what we're trying to get to, this is where we're at, this is, you can give goals to people, and you can say like, this is really where we want to get. That's gonna just build like more confidence and peace of mind for you as the person that has to deal with that, for just having that confidence in the process, and making sure that people, it'll also just like, if the expectations are kind of up in the air and they seem to like change based on like your mood, you
Right.
know, like every meeting,
Which is usually how it goes.
yeah. If you have them written on paper, like these are the expectations, and then you tell them to someone, they can't be like, oh well, that's that's different, or like there's no confusion. They're never like, I never know what to do, and I feel like I'm running around because like the goals change every week,
Right.
But if you just have those goals written down, it just brings peace of mind, confidence to your employees, makes just less workplace tension, which is always great.
That's always great. Less tension is always amazing. And for sure, I think even next year is going to be even a more structured way. Like this is where you start, this is where you could end, this is what you got to do. But we're still working on it, because when you start your team, you have no idea what you guys are doing. And then you do a couple of years of this, you're like, oh, okay, we generally know that this is what it costs to do this, the real cost of that. And this is what it takes to do that. And this is how much we make from that. So this is how much we can pay for that specific action. And that takes years to generate that information. And so I think even, this coming up year is going to be a lot more structured, a lot more of a goal of what we got to shoot for, because we're still such a young company. We're still trying to figure things out. And so if you can have that even beforehand, like, if you can set those goals beforehand, it's going to be much easier for you, because that way you're going to have less tension. That way, your mind's not going to change. But if you put it on paper, then it makes it easier. Like we have our Joe GE laws and principles about people showing up late to meetings, and what actions happen if you do that, and what happens if you do this, what happens if you do that. And that's more of a laws. But when we need to have another document that's going to have more information about, hey, this is the department you're in, this is kind of the potential for it. But it's also so difficult because we don't know, are we going to make more revenue or less revenue? How much are we planning on growing? Because if we grow more and we have the same team, we can pay more. But if we grow less and we have the same team, we can't pay as much. But you can't go backwards on pay. People only want to go up. So it's being able to figure out like a system that works, and then something that you can follow for a long time. That's still something we're working on for sure. That's definitely something that it's going to take a long time.
Yeah. And it's just, it's crazy because like we have so many numbers and like so much support and stuff that you see companies that are 10 times as large that they don't even have it, and like it's like jumbled, and then people like contact us and stuff, and the information is just like boom, it's there. And it's just like awesome because it makes it, we're just like so over prepared almost that it's not, like there's never a point where you're like too small to have organization. Like some, numbers and stuff is sometimes harder to get, but if and it's all like Zendesk kind of expensive, like
Right.
It costs money,
It's very expensive.
if you make $100 a day, Zendesk maybe isn't something
Not the solution for you.
Exactly. Maybe the 20 tabs is going to be your thing for now, but like recognizing that the numbers and just the processes make things more efficient. They allow you to get the most out of the people that you have. Like for us, Zendesk is worth it because the amount that it costs all the time is like less than it saves us so much time. Right. That like we would be paying someone more if we didn't have it, so
Yep.
It makes sense.
Exactly.
And like realizing that you might be paying more money, but like just think about how much you're saving by also having these processes, and it might not pay off right away, but having numbers and having metrics will make a better culture. And then being able to like, you can't really put like an ROI on a culture, or like an ROI on like certain things, but it will make the business more efficient, and it'll make people like the company more and recommend, people, and it'll just improve everything. Like that's I'm really cool that we're on the same page about it. It's really cool that we're on the same page about it, because like it just makes sense to me. And so I'm happy that it makes sense to you too. It's like, okay, we need like organization and structure, because that just makes things efficient, and that's what lean really is all about. And so when you have, it's not just about like, hey, can we use one less drop of glue on this repair, or like do the repair a certain way? It's also about like, okay, like how does the person, feel when they come into the shop, and like, can we make them be stoked when they come in, right, so that when they do that repair, it just is more efficient because they're stoked to be here,
That's right.
So that's pretty huge.
And that's something, we'll be trying to figure that out until the end of the world, because that is such an interesting task. We're humans, we're just emotional blobs walking around Earth, filled with water, and man, you just never know. So just, consistency is key for our customers and for each other. And it really comes down to respect, and respecting our customers, respecting our resources, just like we finished that book this week. As a company, read the book Banish Sloppiness. That's going to be one of our resources today. And I think we're going to try to bring one up every single time we do a podcast, but like different books we're listening to. Really good book. And, it just comes down to being able to respect our team, and they'll respect our customers. Mm-hmm. They'll respect you. And that's huge. And we've changed a little bit of our core values and principles to implement the word respect, because it's a strong word. It has a deep connotation. And I think that's kind of something we tried to do. Is we read the book, we learned about it, and we implemented it and made our core values and principles better. We improved it.
Heck yeah. That book was awesome. Like, I would definitely recommend reading that. Like, I liked it because 2 Second Lean was 100% lean, but Banish Sloppiness was like, it felt more like ego is the enemy, or like stillness is key, or like some other book where it was like not just about lean. Like, if you didn't even own a company, or if you didn't, if you don't own a business, so you're just like, you work and you're just trying to get better, Banish Sloppiness is a great book. It's just like, it was just awesome. I want to listen to it again, because it's really good, and it's short too.
Yeah, it's only 2.5 hours. Listened to it a couple times, 3 times already.
Nice.
Really enjoyed it. And it's cool because 2 Second Lean was all about strategy, mm-hmm, and this is all about philosophy and all about mindset. Yeah. And all about, respecting people, respecting resources, which is what Japan's all about. That's why Japan's so awesome in the first place. Mm-hmm. So that's cool. And I'm pumped that we're still reading books, and we're getting that going.
Heck yeah. Well, do you have anything else you want to?
Not really. I just wanted to bring up the resource. That's one thing I want to do before we take off. So 2 Second Lean is the book that we kind of focus on. We read it every single year. New book that we've been just finished as a team together is Banish Sloppiness from Paul Akers. You have that on YouTube. It's free, which is really, really cool.
Is it on YouTube?
It is.
Oh,
I believe so.
I couldn't find it on YouTube.
Oh, really? Maybe it's not.
I just went to our Audible.
Yeah, it's on Audible. Guess how many titles we have on Audible?
Like 300?
No. Somebody said 100. I'm like, that's a good number. 140.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is still a lot.
That's a ton, dude.
And then I have my other account that combines Leo's account and mine, and that has like over 200. So,
heck yeah.
Man, so many great books. Matt, do you have a funny story or joke to share?
Well, I can never get this one. We have it's so funny. Like, I feel like maybe I'm biased in this sense, but I do all the video here, like, for the most part, like all the vlogs, any like major company videos. Aaron does the YouTube, like, the tutorials and some other stuff too. But and so, like, I've documented like a lot of the funny things that have happened in the shop, and like there's so many funny things that we haven't recorded because we're not recording 24 hours a day, But like that one time that Edgar on the vlog was just like, he like just came into the shop, and like, I don't remember exactly what the context was, but it was just when we started vlogging, and I walked up to him and I was like, I asked him something, and then he just said like, knowledge is a powerful brain.
Knowledge is powerful?
Knowledge is a powerful brain.
And it just, people still bring that up. And that was like 2 years ago. And so I think that it's really funny because that would have been not as, like, people wouldn't still bring that up. And it's hilarious because like half the people that work here didn't work here when that happened. So like people will say it and then people are like, what? Like, yeah. They'll think that it was just something stupid that they said or whatever, And but if you document, like, it's cool to just be able to look back on like that history. I think that like documenting, like, there's nothing wrong with like celebrating a little that you've come a certain way. But like that story to me is like the one of the funniest things that's happened, because it's just like, it's just funny that it gets brought up still, you know. And it's, I think that it's really cool that we document things, and you can look back 4 years and be like, wow, this is what the shop looked like 4 years ago.
Dude,
you know, like
the
that's
changes,
super cool.
man. Yeah, one of the funny stories, I don't have any jokes. I'm not much of a jokester, but one of the funny stories is I'll just kind of go in depth more on how me and Matt met. That was a funny story. So when I just started originally, I was just buying gaming stuff off Craigslist. And of course, like any great relationship, you know, you find on Craigslist. And so Matt rolled up, or I rolled up to him. I drove all the way from Maple Falls to Bellingham. It's about a 45-minute drive. I roll up in the middle of the night, and then I'm packing with a 40 cal. Matt's packing.
I had like a switchblade in
Yeah, he
my
had a
pocket or
switchblade.
something, like.
Yeah. And so we were both like packing, and we met up, and Matt was a super cool dude. And then he gave me a Wii. I still remember the Wii had like paint on it. I could never sell it. So I was like thinking like, man, I got to take this Wii apart. I got to cut it off. And then I eventually sold it on Amazon with the picture. The lady returned it because the paint was clogging up the fan or something. And I still remember that specifically because of the way we met up and the stuff I bought. But it was just, that was so unique. And then how everything else played out. And that's just a reminder, you know, whoever you meet, be nice to them, you know, try to network with people, because you never know, either you're going to be working for them or you'll be working with them or in the same team. Like, you don't really know.
Yeah.
So make those relationships, make those connections, you know, feel free to network, and you can do that doing the thing that you enjoy. And I would have never imagined, you know, from that day what would happen now, but it happened, and it's here, and we're doing it. So that's a cool and funny story for me.
Heck yeah. Like, we literally knew each other for 5 years before I started working here.
Yeah.
And we had lunch 3 times, I think.
Yep.
In 5 years. And then, like, here we are. You know?
There we are.
It's like, okay, that's pretty cool. Like, yeah, people ask me, like, oh, how'd you get the job or whatever? And I was like, well, I met a guy on Craigslist, like, when I was 16. Like,
That's right.
You know? Yeah, that was a good time.
Absolutely. Matt, you have anything else to say?
I think that's about it for now. This has been pretty fun.
Awesome, man. We'll appreciate everything that you do, and let's continue the good work.
Heck yeah.
Closing. Thanks so much for tuning in to Beyond the Sales Podcast. My name is Joe, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.
My name is Matt. Have a good one.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Dude, that was long.
Yeah. How long do you think that was?
I have no idea. Over an hour, probably.
What time is it?
9:40.